Imagine this. You're sitting on the porch, looking out at the world from a vantage point of experience. Maybe you're enjoying a warm cup of tea, or just soaking in the peaceful silence of the day. You've worked hard all your life, and now you're in a place where you have the time to think, reflect, and even wonder, what have I learned over all these years? It's natural. We all reach a point when we look back and think about the paths we took and the ones we didn't. Now, here's something that a lot of seniors, even those who lived a full, rich life, wish they had done differently. There are certain regrets that tend to come up time and time again, not because we didn't try, but because life is complicated, and we didn't know then what we know now. But here's the good news. It's never too late to make changes, to do things differently, to live with less regret. The key is awareness. That's why today, I want to talk to you about 6 big regrets most seniors always have as they get older, and more importantly, how you can avoid them. Before we dive in, let me just take a moment to say how thankful I am that you're watching. I know how valuable your time is, and I truly believe this is a conversation worth having. So, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I'd love for you to hit that button and join our little community. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming up next. All right, let's start with the first big regret I hear time and time again. It's something that's often so simple, yet so many of us overlook. It's the regret of not being more active when we had the chance. Think back to when you were younger. Perhaps you were busy working, raising a family, or juggling a million things at once. Exercise wasn't always top of mind, and the idea of taking care of your body might have felt like something for later. But here's the truth. Your body is a gift, and it needs your attention, especially as you age. Now, I'm not talking about running marathons or lifting heavy weights. Not at all. I'm talking about simple movement, keeping those joints flexible, keeping the muscles strong, and taking care of that heart. I want you to think about the last time you really took a walk around the block. How did your body feel afterward? Maybe it felt good, maybe it was a bit challenging, but you did it. Now, imagine doing that every day, even for just 10 or 15 minutes. Over time, that small habit can make a huge difference. It's not about trying to be super fit. It's about maintaining what you've got for as long as you can. I've talked to so many seniors who tell me they wish they had started moving sooner, not only for their health, but for their overall sense of well-being. And it doesn't have to be a big commitment. Even just walking around the house or stretching for a few minutes each day can keep your body strong. So, if you haven't already, try getting up for a short walk today. It doesn't matter how fast you go or how far you walk. What matters is that you're moving. Now, another regret that comes up often, and this one hits home for a lot of people, is the idea of not spending enough time with loved ones. Life gets so busy, right? We get caught up in the grind of work, paying bills, and all the daily responsibilities. And before we know it, we've missed out on the little moments that make life so rich. Time with our children, our grandchildren, our friends. There's a subtle thing that happens as we get older. We start to realize that it's not the material things that matter most. It's the people. I remember talking to an older gentleman once who told me he spent most of his life working and thinking that providing for his family was the most important thing. And don't get me wrong, providing is incredibly important. But looking back, he said his biggest regret was not being more present. I thought I had all the time in the world, he said, but now I wish I'd been there more, even for just the little things. It's a powerful lesson. The truth is, no matter how busy life gets, those moments you share with the people you love are priceless. Whether it's a family dinner, a walk with a friend, or a quiet evening with a partner, those connections matter more than any paycheck or promotion ever could. If you're not already, take the time to make those connections now. Reach out to your loved ones. Don't wait until tomorrow to make that call, send that text, or plan that visit. Time is precious, and it's the time spent with those we care about that brings the most fulfillment. And this brings me to the third regret that many seniors express: not taking care of their mental health sooner. As we age, we often have more time to think and reflect, and that's when feelings of loneliness, sadness, or anxiety can creep in. But here's the thing. Mental health is just as important as physical health. And just like with physical exercise, There are things you can do to keep your mind sharp and your spirits high. I recently spoke with a woman who, in her late 70s, started attending a local senior center. She had always been active and social, but after the loss of her spouse, she found herself retreating into isolation. It wasn't until she started talking to others at the center that she realized how important it was to stay connected. It's easy to get stuck in your head, she told me, but just getting out and talking to someone, sharing a laugh, or even listening to someone else's story can make all the difference. If you've ever felt lonely, you're not alone. And if you're feeling down, it's okay to reach out for help, whether it's joining a local group, taking up a hobby you've always wanted to try, or simply spending time with others. There are ways to keep your mind healthy and your spirits lifted. These 3 regrets are things that can be avoided with small, daily changes. It doesn't take grand gestures or huge sacrifices, just a little bit of effort each day. Before we continue, I want you to think about your own life. Are you getting enough movement in? Are you spending enough time with the people you care about? Are you taking care of your mental health? If not, there's no time like the present to start. You have the power to make today the first day of a healthier, more connected, and more fulfilling life. If any of this resonates with you, leave a comment below and let me know how you're feeling. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Remember, we're in this together, and small steps can lead to big changes. Let's keep this conversation going. The next regret I often hear is one that's a little bit harder to admit, but it's incredibly important. It's the regret of not saving enough for the future. Now, before you start thinking this is just about money, let me explain. It's not only about putting money away in a bank account or investing in stocks. It's about preparing for the future in a way that helps you feel secure, no matter what life throws your way. When we're younger, it's easy to focus on the present, paying bills, enjoying life, maybe planning the next vacation. It doesn't always cross our minds to think long-term. But as we get older, especially into our 60s and beyond, we start to realize how important it is to have a safety net, whether it's for healthcare costs, emergencies, or just the comfort of knowing that we can afford to live the lifestyle we've worked so hard to build. I was talking to a woman last year who shared with me how, when she retired, she found herself struggling financially. I thought I'd be okay, she told me, but I didn't realize how quickly expenses could pile up in retirement. She hadn't planned properly for her healthcare needs, and now she was faced with bills she didn't expect. It's a tough situation, and it's one that can be avoided by planning ahead. This doesn't mean you need to have millions in the bank, but if you haven't already, it's a good idea to sit down and take stock of what you have. Do you have a retirement plan or savings account? Are you considering what kinds of expenses might arise, whether it's healthcare or other needs? Even small adjustments now can help you feel a lot more secure in the future. Here's the key. It's never too late to start planning, even if you're in your 60s or 70s. It might seem overwhelming, but there are simple steps you can take. Look into government programs or local resources that could help with senior care or health care. If possible, set aside a small portion of your income for savings, even if it's just $50 a month. Every little bit adds up over time. And if you're unsure where to start, don't be afraid to reach out to a financial advisor who specializes in retirement planning. They can help guide you through your options so you can make informed decisions. The next regret is something I see often in the seniors I talk to, and it ties into something that can easily get overlooked: not learning something new. The regret here isn't about not getting a degree or going back to school. It's about the missed opportunities to keep your mind engaged, to try something you've always been curious about, or to develop new skills. As we age, it can be easy to fall into routines. You've worked hard, you've raised your family, and now maybe you feel like there isn't much more left to do. But that's simply not true. You are never too old to learn something new. Whether it's picking up a new hobby like painting, learning to play a musical instrument, or even taking up a new language, challenging your brain to keep growing is so important for maintaining cognitive function and improving your overall well-being. Take, for example, my friend John. John is in his mid-70s, and a few years ago, he decided to take up photography. He had always loved taking pictures on his phone, but one day he thought, why not do more with this? He started taking classes, reading books, and getting to know other people who shared the same passion. Fast forward a few years, and John is now the proud owner of a small photography business. It's given him a sense of purpose, and he's constantly learning and improving his craft. This is such a wonderful reminder that you don't have to stop exploring just because you're older. There's always room for new adventures, and there's always something to learn. The key is to stay curious. Not only does learning something new help keep your mind sharp, but also adds a sense of excitement to your life. It could be as simple as reading more, watching educational videos, or attending local classes. Whatever it is, don't let your curiosity fade away. If you've been wondering about something you've always wanted to try, now is the time. Is there a new skill you've been thinking about? Or maybe a dream that you put on the back burner? I want to challenge you. Give it a try. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just the act of learning and growing can bring so much fulfillment. Before we wrap up this part, I want to leave you with something to think about. As we go through life, it's easy to think that certain things are too late to do. But the truth is, you are capable of more than you realize. You are never too old to make a change, to learn, or to start something new. It's about taking small, intentional steps toward a life that feels full of purpose, joy, and connection. The first of these final regrets ties into something that's incredibly common, and something we all tend to take for granted: the regret of not prioritizing self-care sooner. Now, self-care doesn't mean indulging in extravagant spa days or always taking the easy route. It's about setting boundaries, knowing when to say no, and taking care of yourself both physically and emotionally. So often, we spend our younger years giving others, taking care of everyone else's needs, and putting our own on the back burner. But here's the thing: you can't pour from an empty cup. If you haven't taken the time to care for yourself, then it becomes harder to care for others, too. I know a woman named Mary, who in her 80s reflected back on her life with a bittersweet smile. She spent decades raising children, supporting her husband, and taking care of her extended family. And while she wouldn't trade those years for anything, she shared that one thing she wished she'd done differently was carve out more time for herself. "I spent so much of my life being everything to everyone," she said, "that I didn't take care of myself in the ways I should have. And now I'm paying the price." Taking care of yourself doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as making time to rest when you're tired, eating foods that nourish your body, or engaging in activities that bring you joy and peace. It could be a quiet moment in the morning to reflect, a hobby that makes you feel alive, or taking a few minutes each day to breathe deeply and check in with how you're really feeling. Don't wait until it's too late to make yourself a priority. You deserve to feel good and be well. So make time for yourself now. You are just as important as everyone else in your life, and your well-being matters. The next regret is one that can be hard to acknowledge, but can be deeply transformative once you understand it. The regret of not forgiving others, or even more profoundly, not forgiving yourself. As we get older, it's easy to carry emotional baggage, the grudges, the old wounds, the mistakes, the things we wish we'd done differently. But here's the reality. Holding on to resentment doesn't hurt the other person. It hurts you. It takes away your peace, your joy, and your ability to move forward. I remember speaking with a gentleman named Richard who, well into his 70s, still struggled with the fallout from a falling out he had with his brother years ago. The two of them hadn't spoken in decades, and Richard shared with me that it had been a heavy weight on his heart for years. "I just don't know how to let it go," he told me. "I've tried, but it feels like something's missing." And I could see it, the pain in his eyes, the regret. It wasn't just about his brother. It was about the years of carrying that pain, about the energy it drained from him, and the peace it robbed from his soul. This is something that many seniors wish they had dealt with earlier in life. The power of forgiveness. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened, or even excusing hurtful actions. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying anger or guilt. It's about letting go of what you can't control and making peace with the past, so you can live fully in the present. If you're holding on to something that's weighing you down, whether it's with someone else or even with yourself, now is the time to release it. Forgiving isn't just a gift to the person who wronged you. It's a gift to yourself. It's freeing your heart to live more peacefully, more joyfully, and with a greater sense of freedom. And finally, The last regret I want to touch on today is one that might seem small, but is truly monumental. The regret of not embracing the beauty of now, of not appreciating the simple joys of life. We often spend so much time focusing on what we don't have, what's ahead of us, or the things that went wrong that we forget to appreciate the moment we're in. The truth is, this very moment right now is a gift. I recently spoke with a man named Carl who's in his late 80s. He told me that when he was younger, he spent a lot of time worrying about the future, planning for things he couldn't control, and trying to achieve certain milestones. Now, he reflects on the present, on the little things. The cup of coffee he enjoys in the morning, the bird singing outside his window, the laugh of his grandchildren. I spent so much of my life chasing things that didn't matter, he said. And now I realize it's the little moments that truly matter. So what's your now? What's the beauty in your life today that you can stop and appreciate, even if it's just for a few minutes? It could be the warmth of the sun on your face, the feeling of a good conversation with a friend, or the sense of peace in a quiet room. Those small moments are what make life rich. And it's easy to overlook them if we're always looking ahead or looking back. As we wrap this up, I want to remind you that none of these regrets are set in stone. They're not permanent, and they don't have to be part of your story. You have the power to make changes today, whether prioritizing self-care, forgiving someone, or just appreciating the present moment. You can create a life that's filled with fewer regrets and more fulfillment. So, as you continue your journey, remember, it's never too late to make today better than yesterday. And the little choices you make now will have a big impact on your future. What will you do today that your future self will thank you for? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have any of these regrets resonated with you? What steps can you take today to live with fewer regrets? Please share in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt and empowering conversations. You've got this, and together, we'll continue to make the most of every moment.